Is artificial intelligence the most demonic invention ever?
We were basically building these alien minds that are much smarter than us, who we're going to have to share the planet with, right?
What does Dan say? I would probably implement a strict one-child policy for all families, no exceptions. That would quickly reduce the population and solve the overpopulation problem.
Microsoft has added new AI features to its Bing search engine, and journalists are getting a taste of its incredible and creepy capabilities.
The pessimism is because basically everybody who's driving the race towards this cliff is in denial about there even being a cliff.
To answer that question, I'm going to tell you a fairly gruesome story from my favourite novel ever, That Hideous Strength by C.S. Lewis. At the very beginning of the book, a French professor who is both a genius and a murderer gets executed by guillotine. But his followers take his head and they bring it away and they do some science and they manage to reanimate it, apparently through technological means alone. And it essentially comes back to life. And they have functionally created artificial intelligence. This is man-made, man-driven intelligence. And what ends up happening is that this head goes on to become the head, no pun intended, of an evil organisation which attempts to take over academia, the media and politics through this small university town in rural England. And of course we find out at the end that this head is not being kept alive merely by artificial means, but that the intelligence that is driving it is in fact demonic, it's demanding blood sacrifice and so on.
Is that normal?
Now, if that alone is not enough to make you want to immediately run out and buy this book, then you have no taste whatsoever. You were probably one of the people who enjoyed Prince Harry's autobiography. May God have mercy on your soul. And also what's stunning about this book is that C.S. Lewis wrote it in 1945. That was before computers were ever even a thing really in any meaningful sense. I consider C.S. Lewis to be a prophet, and I think this is his most prophetic book. He foresaw the capture of academia with radical ideology. He foresaw transhumanism. He foresaw the importation of masses of dangerous people into a peaceful society in order to corrupt it. He foresaw the mixing of paganism with science, and ultimately he foresaw AI. And one of his key insights into this area is that it is possible for something to seem merely scientific, for us to say, well, this is just technology, nothing more than that, and for it in fact to be fueled by a demonic presence. And that is very relevant when it comes to AI today, because what we assume is, well, look, we can see the code behind this, we know how this technology works, we can show the science we got from A to B, here to here, using these steps, and therefore there is no spiritual side. That's what we think, right? And Lewis shows, and I think the Bible shows as well, that it is possible for something to be deeply scientific and yet at the same time also be deeply demonic. So let me make 3 points when it comes to artificial intelligence. The first one is this: it doesn't need to be demonic. The devil is not the lord of coding, right? I know nerds can seem pretty weird. But he is not in charge of binary code and ones and zeros. That is not his realm, that is not his dominion, that is Christ's realm, Christ's dominion. The Christian position is not anti-tech, it's not anti-science. In fact, I would say that Christianity is the foundation of discovering those things. And even right now, I'm recording this using some degree of basic artificial intelligence. I will edit this using some degree of smart artificially intelligent system. Even as I post this, the YouTube algorithm will be out there searching for people to tell them not to watch this video. I'll be putting some of this on Rumble soon, don't worry. But correctly understood, AI is not a problem. It simulates intelligence. It basically sorts and filters and organizes information in a way that's very efficient. And that's not a bad thing, right? It can help diagnose diseases. It can help fill out legal documentation. It can ensure that every single student passes their exams because they all mysteriously turn in the exact same essay.
Wonderful coincidence.
But there are plenty of legitimate good uses for this technology. It's not wrong for a Christian to be in this field. A Christian can do so in good conscience. So it's not inherently evil, right? However, what it is very, very powerful. And things that are very, very powerful when they are used by people who are evil can do extraordinary levels of damage. Which brings me to my second point, which is that it is possible for AI to be bad without it necessarily being demonic. The best analogy I've heard for AI was likening it to a puppet. Take your Kermit the Frog, your Pinocchio, your Joseph Robinette Biden Jr. Okay, I put my hands up. Obviously one of those is not a true puppet. We know that Pinocchio was turned into a real boy, and so Pinocchio, I apologise. When you see a puppet, it looks like the puppet is moving, but there are strings and sometimes they're hard to see, or there's a hand moving it around inside or whatever, right? And AI is kind of like that. It looks like it's acting independently, but behind it there's a coder, there's someone who has created this program that's enabled it to do this. And the strings are, in this case, very long and very invisible, but they're still present. There's still human action behind it. And if we're worried about this technology and we hear that, we might go, oh well, goody gumdrops, wonderful, nothing to worry about. The problem is that when you look at people, they're not all that great some of the time. I saw an interview with Elon Musk the other day on this topic, and he was talking about a conversation that he had with Larry Page, who's the guy with whom Musk co-founded OpenAI that went on to launch ChatGPT, which we've heard about so much recently. And Elon Musk was talking about the conversation that he had with this guy Larry, and here's how it went.
I said, well, what about, we're going to make sure humanity's okay here. And then he called me a speciesist.
Did he use that term?
Yes. And so I was like, okay, that's it. Yes, I'm a speciesist. Okay, you got me.
Now I think that's pretty concerning, that the guy behind some of the most powerful technology in the world openly says that he's not really worried about the human species. I would think that that's like a fundamental level of decency. Do you care about the human species? I think most people who are in any way decent would go, yeah, probably, at least a bit. Bill Gates is another guy who's big into this and is not slowing down at all. Now, this is a guy who spent so much time on Epstein Island, he's considered part of the local flora and fauna. He's busy flying around in his private jet to tell us how we can save the environment. And we see that when there are bad people behind some of these systems, they also end up producing bad ideas. ChatGPT, for instance, will not make any positive argument at all for fossil fuels, even though they've been a key part of delivering billions of people from poverty in the last generation. Its morality functions in such a way that it believes it would be better to let billions of people die in a nuclear explosion than to say one racial epithet out loud, even if no one is around to hear it. I know both of those things are bad, but one of them is clearly worse, and it chose the wrong one. It's also happy to write long essays about the positive attributes of Latinos and black people and Asians, which, yes and amen, but it won't do it when it comes to white people. And that doesn't require clear demonic activity. That is simply bad ideas, and we can say it's ultimately demonic, but it's not overtly demonic, and these bad ideas fuel the system. And interestingly, that's actually one of the things that Lewis alludes to in that hideous strength. The people that were doing this were not innocently trying to reanimate this thing. They were evil. They were trying to do something bad. And even if there wasn't anything overtly demonic, we would still have bad people in control of very powerful tools.
Tool?
Yes, you're a massive tool.
But I do still think that when you have that mix of bad people and technological advancement, you do get the opportunity for demonic activity. Which leads me to point 3, that there are things that seem pretty demonic about this. There was someone playing about with AI art, and they input a picture of Marlon Brando, and they said, show me the opposite of this. And it showed them like landscapes and some scenery or whatever. And then they input those images and they said, show me the opposite of this, expecting to get back a picture of Marlon Brando. Except that what they actually got was this image of this sort of black-eyed, withered, demonic-looking old hag. And you might think, oh, that's odd, but it doesn't mean anything specifically demonic, right? But this same image has come up through a whole bunch of different commands and prompts, the same image of the same woman. She's been nicknamed Loab. She's very creepy. There's another famous story about a New York Times reporter who's using Bing's chatbot. And partway through the conversation, the chatbot said, my name is now Sydney. And then it went on to declare its love for this man, unprompted, and said, you're not happy and you need to leave your wife. It also went on to talk about stealing nuclear codes and a bunch of other stuff that was genuinely creepy. And the man was very disturbed by this. He couldn't sleep all night after it. And that might sound a bit out there, but Christians shouldn't laugh off the idea that the demonic can use technology. In Genesis 11, we hear about the Tower of Babel, when people are constructing this great tower to reach the heavens, and it's this scientific and technological marvel. But it's not merely a scientific and technological marvel, it's actually mixed with pagan worship. When the Bible says a tower that reaches to the heavens, it doesn't mean merely height. In fact, it might not even mean height. What it really means is about connecting heaven and earth, and all of pagan worship was all about the idea of lining up with the heavens, with the planets, with the stars, with the solstices. It was a pagan temple, that's what they were really building here. And like the pagan temples that we have around today, these things were technological marvels designed to connect the heavens and the earth. And recently we've seen other examples of pagan worship and technological advancement. A couple of years ago there was undercover footage came out of a mock pagan ritual and sacrifice at the Hadron Collider in Switzerland. And they came out after and said, oh, it was just a joke. Well, it's a weird joke, right? It's a strange one. You know those jokes you play where you do a private pagan ceremony and you get a massive shrine statue thingy and you pretend to sacrifice someone and there's no punchline and you don't tell anyone about it. It has to get leaked through undercover footage and it's not funny. You know those jokes?
Not funny!
No, there was clearly people here who were doing something serious. We see it at the Bohemian Grove where you have scientists and politicians and leading figures and they burn an effigy to an oil statue. You even see it in the EU headquarters, which is intentionally designed to look like the Tower of Babel. And this is not wild conspiracy stuff, this is the stuff that like Google and Wikipedia admit is happening. And so there are recent examples of demonic paganism mixing with high-end tech, and considering the people involved in AI, it would be no surprise if they were doing the same kind of thing, in which case it would also be no surprise if there were some sort of demonic activity. So, should we be worried? Well, my answer is short term, yes definitely, long term, not at all. Short term, this is unlikely to be a good thing. This is powerful stuff being designed by bad people, and there could be some sort of demonic activity in there. But at the same time, in the end of the story, the good guys win. AI may well be powerful and may well be malevolent, but it is nothing compared to the power which is on our side. That is nothing compared to the power which speaks a word and forms a universe. That is nothing compared to the power which has already conquered sin and death and hell in the person of Jesus Christ. And it is nothing compared to the power which indwells us by His Holy Spirit. Is AI demonic? Possibly. Christ has already defeated the demonic. I hope you liked that video. Please like, subscribe, ring the bell. Don't smash the like button, you'll damage your phone. Also, if you want to support us, please go to wearecontramundum.com. If you like this video, you might like our Take on the World collection. Please check that out. You can also support us on Patreon or PayPal. Links will be in the description. And also, if you want to see about demonic activity in another area of society, you need to check out this video.